Hey everybody, Matt Johnston, Matt the Lawyer. I'm back with another kind of legislative update. In a previous video, or actually the last video I just did, I talked about the PRO Act, which is making its way through Congress, which dealt with primarily with the change, a legislative change in how to determine whether or not somebody can be an independent contractor or if they're an employee. Now, hopefully that piece of legislation can be killed off so that it is not does not become law. But just because we kill it in Congress does not mean that small businesses are out of the woods. At the end of 2020, the Trump administration had instituted and finished up a rule in the Department of Labor that made some small changes to how independent contractors would be classified or how to classify independent contractors. It was looking at a five-prong test, and it was supposed to go into effect or went into effect temporarily in January of 2021. When the Biden administration came in, they immediately pulled the rule as one of the early acts. Now, pulling the rule is not necessarily an indication that they would kill the rule off, except for in this case, it really does mean that. In this case, I do believe that the Department of Labor will, if the PRO Act does not become law, the Department of Labor will issue a guidance that would implement the ABC test for classifying independent contractors. Now, as a quick reminder, the ABC test is a pretty stringent test. It's going to be very hard for most freelancers and businesses that hire freelancers to pass the test and be able to classify somebody as an independent contractor. So the three prongs are: first, the worker is free from the direction and control of the hiring entity, both in terms of the contract and in fact. So just because your contract says you have an independent contractor relationship also means that you also have to, in fact, in reality, be not micromanaging your independent contractors. Prong number two is the worker performs work that is outside of the hiring entity's normal course of business. So the closer the kind of work is, the less likely it is that that person would be classified as an independent contractor. And the third prong is that the worker is customarily engaged in an independent trade, occupation, or business. So they operate their own business. Now, the Department of Labor is likely to pass this rule, particularly if the PRO Act fails. If the PRO Act is passed, the Department of Labor probably won't say anything, probably won't issue a rule. They'll maybe issue some guidance and some regulations under the legislation, but it is unlikely that they would pass the rule. But if the PRO Act goes down, if it fails to be passed into law, then the likelihood that the Department of Labor would issue a ABC test rule goes up exponentially, and it could still become the law no matter what. The other thing that I want to caution everybody to be mindful of is your state legislature. The PRO Act is based upon California's AB5, and there are many, many other states that are looking at similar legislation. Part of the reason for this is a belief that freelancers are somehow abused. And there has been abuse of workers by calling them freelancers or independent contractors when in reality they are not. Some of the industries that were looked at were construction, landscaping. Other industries that are being examined carefully are home health care, cleaning services, things of that nature. There are abuses out there, and I am not denying that those abuses exist. However, less than 10% of actual freelancers, people who are actively and by choice involved as a freelancer or an independent contractor, most of them don't want to be that. Small businesses sometimes need to flex their workforce, and using independent contractors and freelancers is one way of doing it. And the fact of the matter is the gig economy is growing in the United States. And in particular, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, a number of people started doing side gigs, freelancing, side hustles in order to make ends meet. And many of them enjoyed the flexibility that came with that status and stature. and so may want to continue that kind of business. Now, we could get all political and we could talk all kinds of things that are good, bad, or indifferent about it. But the point of this particular video is to make sure that people understand that just because the PRO Act may be defeated in becoming law doesn't mean the ABC test is not going to come back. It could very well come back and may come back as a Department of Labor regulation or may come back as a state law. So be vigilant, pay attention to what your state legislature is doing, and pay attention to what your friends at the Department of Labor are doing. Stick with us and we will keep you informed as best we can. In the meantime, everybody, I hope you will click the subscribe button that's going to appear right about here, and click the little bell down below. You'll be able to get notifications about what we are doing. If you like what we see, like what you see here, like what we're doing, please feel free to share this around and give us a rating. We really would appreciate it. In the meantime, have a good week. Bye-bye.